There is a very disturbing story on the Blaze. It was done last night on Real News. Buck Sexton is our national security guy, and this is the reason why I have said that the Cass Sunstein is the most dangerous man in America, because he's the guy who's doing regulation. And when it comes to regulation, they can make you into a criminal anytime they want. They can go after you, and you all of a sudden you've done violations that you didn't even know you've violated. What? You go out hunting, you've hunted forever, and now all of a sudden the laws have changed. You didn't know the laws have changed. Ignorance is no excuse. All of a sudden you're facing a felony charge.
Mm-hmm. And they expand it by so much so quickly, there's no way to keep up with it. There's right. That's why they do this. It's the same thing with the tax code. They make the tax code 87,000 pages because they know no human being on earth could possibly understand it. Yeah, it's a weapon.
It's a weapon. I mean, I've talked to my tax attorneys, and they're like, Glenn, because I've always said, when in doubt, pay it.
Yeah.
Always pay it. I don't overpay, like thousands of dollars or whatever, but whenever we're at a line and you're like, it could go either way, we pay it. And when we were audited, what a surprise when Obama got into office, I was audited, and I called the attorneys and I said, well, I feel good because I've always said to you guys, make sure we pay everything that you think possible. And they just laughed at me. And I said, what? And they said, Glenn, the tax code is a weapon. It's a weapon. There are attorneys, they said, in our own office that they both will say, no, that's not what that means. It doesn't mean that at all. Yes, it does. It means you have to do that. They said it's all a matter of opinion because it's so complex. This is what's happening now with regulations. For everything in the healthcare bill, 2,000 pages, each page is, 8 pages of regulation?
Yeah, it was something. I might have been higher than that, actually. Yeah,
I want to say it was like 18, but just to be safe, it was 8 pages of regulation. You can't keep up with that regulation. They've created a sea of paperwork, and this is the way it has happened in every country that has gone off the rails. Anytime you've headed towards really bad problems, they've always done it this way. So last night on the Real News, is Buck with us yet?
Yeah, they're trying to reach him on the backup number.
Okay.
So
every time that we have gone off the rails, it has been through regulation like this. Humanity has always gone off the rails through regulation. Last night, the Real News, which is the show that follows mine on GBTV, and I think is one of the smartest news shows on television. It is the best panel on television. My favorite part of the Brit Hume hour that he always did was the last 2 segments with the panelists. These guys are that smart and then some. But it's unlike any show you've ever seen on television, I think, any news show. And Buck brought to the table yesterday all of these new regulations and people who are going to jail. And they're going to jail, and they're like, wait, I violated what? Huge fines. I'm telling you, if you're a hunter, if you're a fisherman, if you're a coal company, natural gas company, oil company, if you're a pastor, priest, or rabbi, if you're a broadcaster, if you're a small business person, if you're anybody who has ever taken a stand, you're going to be in trouble. Buck, can you fill in on some of the things that people are going to jail on?
Some of the ones we highlighted last night, Glenn, include somebody who saved a whale's life instead of letting it drown in his fishing net because he was supposed to, apparently under regulations, bring in a special expert, which obviously would have allowed the large mammal to die. Some other ones, a guy was going through...
So wait. What did this guy face? Did he went to actual jail?
No, he ended up pleading it out, but he was facing criminal charges on this. And that means, you have a criminal charge on your record. So keep in mind that down the line, if you have any other brush with the law, you're already a criminal. That goes on everything whenever you apply for a job, when you're looking to do things in your future. And it's just also a matter of honor. People shouldn't carry around criminal charges when they've had no criminal intent, and the act itself is not really criminal.
See, I tell you, there is something here, Buck, and I so appreciate your work last night, and please continue to follow this and keep turning it over, because there's something going on. They are criminalizing Americans left and right. And it has something to do with the future. I'm not sure what, but they're doing something.
One thing, Glenn, we actually had a chart we didn't pull, and it was from the Wall Street Journal. They showed that the number of what they call national security prosecutions has also skyrocketed, starting right around 2008, going from basically the teens to 3 or 4 times that each year, which to me is also very interesting, sends a very clear message. They're looking at that as well as a means of, in some cases possibly shutting down dissent, some cases actually punishing whistleblowers. Look, in others, they're people that have done things they shouldn't be doing. But the point is, it's a dramatic increase, and I think that has a really profound effect on how we can discuss what's going on with the administration.
You went down the road that we were talking about a couple of months ago, where they're using the Espionage Act. This is a Woodrow Wilson thing, and they're using it to shut down anybody in the government who wants to be a whistleblower and say, "Hey, this is wrong. This is what's going on," and they're facing 30 years in prison.
Well, the complete collapse of the Drake case, I think, was fascinating because it didn't in any way sort of chasten the administration and make sure that
wait. Let's pretend. Let's just. I mean, of course, I know what it is. Let's just pretend you don't know what the Drake case is.
Right. So basically, it was an NSA employee who was getting himself into trouble, or rather, charges are brought against him because he apparently had leaked classified information to reporters. Which,
Drake.
look, as somebody who had formerly worked, Drake, somebody who had formerly worked, for national security in this country, that's a very serious charge.
Yeah.
The problem here is that it turned out that he didn't leak anything that was classified.
Right.
And at the end of this, this is after you've basically been branded a traitor in this case. And at the end, the government said, look, we'll let you plead out to misuse of a computer. Well, that's quite a difference from facing 30 years in prison, in federal prison, and basically having your reputation and your life completely ruined. And I think that's just one of those cases that shows that we need to be very careful. When you throw around the word traitor, I mean, that's something that actually you can receive the death penalty for. We need to be very careful with the word espionage, traitor, these sorts of things, because the implications for people's lives are enormous.
It was very similar to the Mallard case, if I'm not mistaken.
So
they're very, very closely related.
The ducks were on the phone.
They were closely related.
It was really bad.
That's
Anyway,
all I know.
So let me, Buck, as a guy who has done this for a while, I mean, you were briefing the White House when you were how old? 12?
Late 20s, but yeah.
Late 20s. Okay, you're like 29 now. So you've been around, you've seen it. What do you think this is? Where's this leading?
Well, look, on a broader scale, I think what we laid out last night really is the main concern for everybody out there who should be paying attention to this, which is that the federal government has more ability now to put people away for more reasons and shadier reasons than they ever have in our nation's history. Alongside that, you have growing federal bureaucracies that are looking for reasons to be. They're looking for reasons to justify their existence. And if they don't if you have a criminal division of, let's say, the EPA, and they're not going in and raiding Gibson Guitar, well, it gets a lot easier for their budget to get cut next year. So some of these organizations that have sprung up that are not those sort of core national security institutions, some of them are really sort of a hammer in search of a nail. And with the expansion of the laws we've seen and the erosion of basic mens rea, meaning criminal mind protection, so if you don't mean to commit a crime, that should be an essential fact when the prosecutorial decisions are made. This is a world we're living in now, and it's very concerning for me. I really think this is a problem.
I have to tell you, I think that I think they're looking also, or will start to look for examples to make out of people. Anybody who stands up against things, anybody who is a leader or can cobble together opposition to this administration, they are going to find something and you'll violate something, and before you know it, you'll be facing jail time, and they'll get more and more people just to say, I'll plea bargain it out. I'll just sign this, because they'll be facing serious jail time for something that they didn't know they were doing, or it has never been a problem.
One of my big fears here, Glenn, is also when people plead out to these things, then when their case comes to light, like in the case of the guy who saved the whale, or in the case of the individual who was criminally prosecuted for weapons possession for finding a spent .22 caliber cartridge, these people are then called.
Tell me that again. What was that one?
This was a guy who was a prior felon, and he was doing drywall work, and he found a spent .22 caliber bullet in the wall of a house he was working on. And at a later date, they searched his apartment for an unrelated reason, found the spent .22 caliber bullet. The Wall Street Journal actually did an investigative report on this, and they sent him to jail for 15 years for violating a firearms ban as a result of being a felon. So when these things happen, though, or rather, in other cases, when people have pleaded it out, they're a criminal. So when the Justice Department is asked about it, or any of these federal organizations are asked, well, what about this case? They say, well, clearly they pleaded it out. They must be guilty. Well, if your choice is 60 days probation, granted having it on your record that you pleaded guilty, or 10 years in federal prison, most people who don't want to spend their life savings defending themselves just want to make the problem go away.
Buck, thank you very much for your reporting on this, and thanks to everybody at the Real News and The Blaze. You can see this segment on theblaze.com right now. If you want to watch the whole episode, it was last night's episode. You can find it on GBTV.com now. It's the Real News. It follows my show at 5 o'clock, and tonight is a special on my show at 5 o'clock of Louis Farrakhan that will melt your eyes. And please, please don't let this work just go unwatched. Please